Good evening. Uh, I'll start. I think I'll start now. Uh, Welcome everyone for the final problem-solving session for the course Post-Harvest Operations and Processing of Fruit, Vegetables, Spices, and Plantation Crop Products. I have a bit of a cold, so I'll be talking slightly softer. I think. If you're not able to hear me, please let me know. Okay, you can just write it in the chat. So this is the final problem solving session for this course, and this today's session is about the module 12 of the course. If you are joining for the first time, I'll just explain how this works to you. So I'll be taking questions related to the module that you've learned this week, and we'll be trying to clear them together, and you will get understanding of how the um, assignment questions are. But these are not the assignment questions. These are something that are representative of the assignment questions, and this will just give you idea of how to go about solving them. All right. So let's start. If you have any doubts, just write it in the chat box or unmute yourself. I'll be looking at the chat and also listening. I would like if you would try to answer the questions once I show them so that you can test how much of the module you have absorbed, right? So let's start without further delay. So this is the first question. And the question is, which of the following statements about the goals of green technology is or are correct? Again, just a reminder, when a question is about is or are correct options, there might be one or more than one correct options. So just keep that in mind, alright? So option one is sustainability involves meeting the needs of society without depleting natural resources. Option two is source reduction focuses on increasing waste and pollution through traditional production and consumption pattern. Option three is innovation aims to develop alternatives to technology that damage health and the environment. And four, viability creates economic activity around green technology, providing investment and career opportunities. So, what do you think the correct answer is in this case? 1, 3, and 4. All right. Uh, do you think there is some other answer? Shankar? Yeah, so I'm not seeing another answer. So let's see what the answer is. 1 and 4. All right. So the answer is 1, 3, and 4. So sustainability does involve meeting the needs of society without depleting natural resources. So as the population keeps increasing, right? It's not like the natural resources are also increasing. And the more we use the natural resources, the more they get depleted, right? And it takes time for these natural resources to reform. So sustainability involves us meeting the need of society without depleting natural resources. Innovation is where you aim to develop technologies. If supposingly you have a technology right now that is harmful to the health and environment, right? Like in the case of leaded petrol. So, few years ago, or like a few decades ago, petrol used to come leaded for its activity, right? And that was a, severe health problem for people, which we didn't know. So you have to innovate to develop alternative technologies that helps to prevent damage to the health and the environment, right? So now we have unleaded petrol. Viability is when you create economic activity around green technology, right? So only you if your original method has a lot of people involved in it, right? So if you have a lot of people involved in creating some product, you need to create a economic uh, economic activity around the new green technology, so that people have jobs and those people who are doing the original method don't lose their job, right? But source reduction is not focused on increasing waste and pollution through traditional production and consumption patterns, but decreasing of this, right? So it's 1, 3, and 4. Any doubts in this question? All right. So I'll move on to question number 2. Question number 2 is a match the following kind of question, and column 1 has the green technology and column 2 has the benefits, right? So column 1 has high pressure processing, cold plasma technology, ultrasound processing, and column 2 has enhances mass transfer and extraction efficiency, retains nutrition and minimize browning, and inactivates pathogenic microorganisms. So which option do you think, which match is do you think correct? C. All right. Any other answer for anyone else? All right. So let's see what the answer is. So the answer is in fact C. So high pressure processing will help you retain nutritional. Yeah, sorry. So high pressure processing will help you retain nutritional quality and minimize browning. Cold plasma technology will inactivate pathogenic microorganisms because it has charged radicals, right? And those will inactivate pathogenic microorganisms. And ultrasound processing will enhance mass transfer and extraction efficiency. Do you have any doubt in this question? Do you want some explanation for any of the technology or its benefits? Just let me know if you want further explanation for any of this. You might already remember from the module, that's why I'm not going into detail about this. But if you want me to explain any of this, just let me know. Alright, so let's move on to the next question. This is again a match the following kind of question. You have to match the byproduct in column 1 with its potential use in column 2. So byproduct means in the process of creating something, you will get byproducts that is not used in the production of your material, right? And these byproducts can also be used for different things. So column 1 has the byproducts of industrial processes such as orange peel, tomato waste, and banana peel. And column 2 has potential use. So potential use is extraction of lycopene carotenoids, source of limonene and antioxidants, and production of fiber. So what do you think is the correct match? B. All right. Anyone else? All right. I'm not seeing an answer apart from one person, so I'll maybe move on to the answer. The answer is in fact B. So this was slightly easy, right? So orange peel is a source of limonene and antioxidants. That is correct, right? And tomato waste is used for the extraction of lycopene and carotenoids for their colored property, right? And banana peel is used for the production of fiber. Anyone has doubts in this question? Yeah, both of you are correct. Good job. Anyone has any doubts? Alright, I'm not seeing any doubts. I'll move on to the next question. Question number 4 is, which of the following statements about high pressure processing and cold plasma technology is or are correct? So option 1 is HPP, which is high pressure processing, enhances the extraction efficiency by destroying cell walls and membranes. Option 2 is cold plasma technology is composed of charged particles generated by an electric discharge of different gases. 3. HPP uses very high temperature to inactivate microorganisms. And 4 is CPE technology promotes sanitization by inactivating pathogenic microorganisms. So, which statement do you think is or are correct? One, two, and four. Right. So let's see what the answer is. Yes. So one, two, and four is in fact correct. High pressure processing does enhance the extraction efficiency by destroying cell wall and membrane due to the high pressure that it puts. Cold plasma is composed of charged particles that are generated by an electric discharge of different gases, and they cause the formation of charged radical molecules, right? And because of this, because of the charged radical molecules, they go and attack or inactivate pathogenic microorganisms, right? Because, for example, if you have a negative OH molecule, right, or a hydroxyl molecule, it can go and attack the DNA, and it can cause mutations or other. It can go and attack proteins, etc., and inactivate the pathogenic microorganisms. High pressure processing does not use high temperature to inactivate microorganisms. It is not done in high temperatures. It is usually done in low or room temperatures. Anyone has any doubt in this question? All right. So let's move on to the next question. Question number 5 is, which of the following statements about major pigments in fruits and vegetables is or are correct? So fruits and vegetables get their color because of pigments in them, right? So which statements is or are correct? Carotenoids are responsible for yellow, orange, and red colors in fruits and vegetables. Anthocyanins are water-soluble pigments responsible for red, purple, and blue colors. Chlorophyll are responsible for green color and are affected by aging and heat. And betannins are yellow pigments obtained from beet. 1, 2, and 3. Alright. Anyone else? Alright, so let's see what the answer is. So the answer is this is in fact 1, 2, and 3. So carotenoids are pigments that you get from fruits and vegetables like carrot, uh, tomatoes, etc. Right, and they are responsible for the yellow, orange, and red color. Right, anthocyanins are water-soluble pigment responsible for red, purple, and blue colors. Okay, chlorophyll, like you know, is a plant pigment which gives its characteristic green color, right? And it is affected by aging and heat. So aging and heat can change the color of chlorophylls from green to yellow, right? Betannins are red pigments obtained from beets. They are not yellow pigments obtained from beets, right? Though at very very high pH, um, around 14 etc., they can turn yellow, but the pigment itself in normal pH conditions is red in color, right? Any doubts in this question? Alright, not seeing any doubts. I'll move on to the next question. So, question number 6 is, which of the following statements about pigments in fruit vegetables are correct? Option 1 is chlorophyll degrade during ripening and thermal processing. Option 2, anthocyanins color and stability are influenced by pH and temperature. Option 3, carotenoids exhibit pro-vitamin A activity. And option 4, betannins remain stable at high pH levels. So which do you think is or are correct? 1, 2 and 3, alright. Anyone else? Alright, so let's see what the answer is. So the answer is in fact 1, 2 and 3. The last question would have given you some clues about this, right? So chlorophyll does degrade during ripening and thermal processing. That is why unripe fruits will appear green, and once they ripen, the chlorophyll will degrade and other you can see the other pigments more clearly now, right? And thermal processing. So if you heat up something, the chlorophyll degrades, right? Anthocyanin color and stability are in fact influenced by pH and temperature. Carotenoids exhibit provitamin A activity, and that is why eating carrots is good for your health because they give you vitamin A, right? Betannins do not remain stable at high temperature. They change colors, and because of their instability, they change structure and change colors, right? Any doubts in this question? All right, so let's move on to question number 7, which is which of the following statements about food waste valorization is or are correct? Food waste valorization is when you used food waste and turn it to some other product so that this waste is used up in some other way. Right? Is or are correct. So valorization of food waste contributes to circular economy approach by converting waste into high value products. Tamarind kernel powder is used as a coating material in sausage casing and protective coatings for fried foods. Jackfruit waste can be used for production of biodegradable flexible films to minimize synthetic polymer utilization, and the production of biofuels from food waste does not require any form of extraction process. So which do you think is or are correct? One, three, and four, and one, two, and three. Alright, so let's see what the correct answer is. So the correct answer is 1, 2, and 3 actually. So valorization of food contributes to circular economy approach by converting waste into high value products, right? And circular economy means a system where material will never become waste and the nature is regenerated again and again, right? Second is tamarind kernel powder is used as a coating material in sausage casing and protective coating for fried food, right? So tamarind, the seed, the powder that you produce from it can be used to coat food that you're going to fry, right? So it doesn't absorb as much oil as it normally would, right? And it can also be used to uh, produce casing. So if you know sausages, right? Sausages are minced meat, but they are coated with a casing so that they maintain their shape. And the tamarind seed has properties which will help in the formation of this casing, right? Jackfruit waste, such as the peels, the outer rough fiber, etc., contains products like cellulose, etc., right, in higher amounts. So they can be used to produce biodegradable flexible films, and so that we don't have to use plastic, right, which is not degradable. The only thing that was not correct is the production of biofuels from food waste does not require any form of extraction process. So, in terms of the biofuel, you cannot use the initial inoculum completely, right? Because it will have traces of whatever food you were converting, right? It will have the fiber, it will have other products which were not converted into the biofuel. So you have to remove the biofuel from this entire process by the process of extraction, and only then can it be used. Is there any doubt in this question? Right, I'm not seeing any doubt. So I'll move on to the next question. Just even if you have a doubt and I've not seen it, just write it in the chat box, alright? So question number 8 is, which of the following statements about the manufacture of pectin and essential oils is or are correct? Right? So pectin is manufactured from citrus fruit peels using microwave hydrodistillation. Second is, orange peel waste can be used for production of both pectin and essential oils. Option 3 is, pectin is only used in food industry and has no other application. And option 4 is, the process of manufacturing pectin from apple pomace is different from that of orange. So which do you think is correct? One, two, and four. Right. Anyone else? Alright, so let's see what the answer is. So 1, 2, and 4 is correct. Pectin is manufactured from citral peel using microwave hydrodistillation. Hydrodistillation is when you use water as a distillation method, and the microwave added to this will increase the extraction process, right? Orange peel waste can be used for production of both pectin and essential oils. So the outer surface of the orange peel, that is the colored portion, will give you essential oils, right? And the inner surface, which is the white surface that you see, will give you pectin. The process of manufacturing pectin from apple pomace, that is apple skin, peel, etc., is different from that of orange, which is correct, right? Option 3 is the only one which is wrong. Pectin is only used in food industry is not correct. It is used in many other industries, such as pharmaceutical industry, etc. Right? Anyone has any doubts in this question? Alright. So let's move on to the next question. Question number 9 is, which of the following statements about the production of biofuels from food and food waste is or are correct? Right? There are four options given to you. Option 1 is, food waste cannot be used to produce biodiesel and bioethanol simultaneously. Option 2 is, biofuels can be produced from food waste containing significant amounts of lipids and carbohydrates. Option 3, enzymatic hydrolysis is a key step in converting food waste to bioethanol. And option 4, the production of biodiesel from food waste involves the trans-esterification of extracted lipids. So out of these options, which do you think is correct? 2, 3, and 4. Alright, anyone else? Alright, let's see what the answer is. So 2, 3 and 4 is correct. Food waste can be used to produce both biodiesel and bioethanol simultaneously. That is why the first option is not correct. So food waste will have lipids and carbohydrates both, right? So lipids can be used to form biodiesel, and carbohydrates can be used for the fermentation, which will lead to the production of bioethanol, right? Biofuel can be produced from food waste containing significant amount of lipids and carbohydrates. That is correct. Enzymatic hydrolysis, that is breaking down of larger molecules into smaller molecules, right? For example, cellulose is broken down into glucose, etc. Uh, in converted food waste is a key step in converting food waste to bioethanol, because these monomers will be used up by the bacteria or fungi and converted into the bioethanol, right? Because they might not be able to use the complex carbohydrates, so they need to be broken down into simpler carbohydrates. And the production of biodiesel from food waste involves the trans-esterification of extracted lipids. This is also correct, right? So trans-esterification is the process in which triglycerides such as fats and lipids will react with alcohol, right? Usually methanol, in the presence of some catalyst, right? Like sodium hydroxide or potassium hydroxide, and they will produce biodiesel and glycerol, right? Anyone has any doubts in this question? All right, I'm not seeing any doubts. All right, so let's move on to question number 10. Question number 10 is, which of the following statements about valorization of citrus fruit processing waste is or are correct? Again, valorization is the process in which the waste will be used up for the production of something, some other product, right? So option 1 is, citrus fruit waste can be used as a source of bioactive compounds. Option 2 is, citrus waste is suitable for use as a biofertilizer and bioabsorbent. Option 3 is, the manufacture of essential oils from citrus waste is limited to the food industry. And option 4 is, citrus waste can be used in cosmetic industry for body sprays and lotion. So which do you think is or are correct? Three. Alright. 1, 2 and 4. Okay. So let's see what the correct answer is. So the correct answer is 3. So the only thing that is incorrect. So the question, unlike all the other questions, was talking about which statement is incorrect, not correct. So only thing that is incorrect is the manufacturing of essential oils from citrus waste is limited to the food industry. It is not correct. So pharmaceutical industry, cosmetic industry, etc. both use the essential oils that we get from citrus waste. The other three options are correct. So citrus waste can be used as a source of bioactive compounds. It can also it is also used as a biofertilizer and bioabsorbent for absorbing things like oils or toxic materials such as heavy metals, etc. And citrus waste can be used in cosmetic industry for body sprays and lotions, etc. to give that distinct smell, right? Any doubts in this question? Alright, so let's move on to the next question, which is question number 11. So you have to observe the following readings of the differential scanning calorimetry experiment, right? And choose the correct options. So you have two samples, cocoa butter and mango butter, right? You have T onset, T offset, T peak, and enthalpy change. So what they're asking you is to choose the incorrect option from these three. So option 1, that is, the negative enthalpy that you see here indicates energy flow from the sample to the surrounding. Option 2 is T onset and T offset, right? Are temperatures at which the heat flow curve suddenly rises from the baseline and the curve reaches the baseline after peak, respectively. And option 3 is mango butter has higher melting temperature than cocoa butter. So out of these three, which do you think is correct? Or sorry, which is incorrect? A is incorrect, alright. So let's see what the answer is. So this is the curve, right? So what you're seeing is the point at which the curve rises from the baseline, and this is the T onset, right? This is the T peak, the T offset, the point at which the curve reaches the baseline, right? So the correct answer is actually, okay, this is wrong. So I have written the wrong thing as the correct answer. So the correct answer is option A, 1 and 2, right? So the incorrect option from these three is 1 and 2, not 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so from this, uh, so in reality, mango butter has a lower melting temperature than cocoa butter. Cocoa butter is more stable at higher temperatures than mango butter. But in this experiment, from the results that you're seeing here, the T peak, that is 39.41 of mango butter, is higher than that of T peak of cocoa butter, which is 34.54. From this readings only, the mango butter does have a higher melting temperature than cocoa butter, right? So the negative enthalpy change does not indicate the flow of energy from the sample to the surrounding, but from the surrounding into the sample. That is how melting is happening, right? So the heat that you're providing is taken up by the butter, right? And the T onset and offset are not temperatures at which the heat flow curve suddenly rises from the baseline and the curve reaches the baseline after the peak. It is not this and this. Instead, the yeah, onset and off set temperatures are the intersection of the tangent of the peak, right? So if you see, this is the peak, right? And if you have a tangent from them that you see here, and wherever it is joining uh, the baseline, right? This is the baseline, right? Wherever it is joining the baseline is where the T onset and the T offset is. So T onset is on the side where it is the curve first rises, and T offset is on the side where the curve is going down. Right? So the only correct option was option 3, and 1 and 2 are incorrect. Okay. So anyone has any doubts in this question? I'll just change the answer. Yeah. Any doubts? Something you didn't understand? All right. So let's move on to the next question, which is question number 12. Sorry. So you might have seen the answer, but let's go over the question anyways. Which of the following statements about the production of extruded products from processing byproducts are correct? Okay. Apple pomace can be used for the production of extruded snack products. Option 2, pineapple pomace is not suitable for extrusion due to its high moisture content. Option 3, high pressure supercritical extrusion technology used for production of extruded products from byproducts, and option 4, extruded products from processing byproducts can enhance the nutritional value of snacks. So which do you think is correct? One, 3, and 4. Alright. So let's see what the answer is. Yes, the answer is 1, 3, and 4. So apple pomace, that is the skin and peel of the apple, can be used to produce extruded snack products. Option 2 is incorrect. Pineapple pomace is can be used for the production of extruded snack products. It has high moisture content, but you can remove the water from it and use that for the production of the extruded snack products, right? So option 2 is not correct. Option 3, which is high pressure supercritical extrusion technology, is used for producing extrusion products from byproducts. That is true. So extrusion is where you apply pressure to something, so that and it passes through perforations in particular shapes, right? So high pressure supercritical extrusion technology is in fact used, right? Option 4, extruded products from processing byproducts can enhance nutritional value of snacks, which is also correct. So even though we don't use these byproducts, it's not because they are not of nutritional value, right? So these, when added to products such as protein bars, etc., can enhance the nutritional value of snacks, including giving fiber, vitamins, etc., right? Any doubts in this question? Alright, so let's move on to the next question. Question number 13 is, which of the following statements about FSSAI regulation and products standards are correct? So there are four options to you. The Food Safety Standards Association of India defines quality factors and the limitation of quality attribute values for food products. Option 2, labeling under FSSAI regulations includes the product's brand mark and descriptive matters. Option 3 is FSSAI regulations do not include descriptions or definition for food products. And option 4 is the criteria for food safety standards include sensory and nutritional quality. So including how it can smell, etc., right? When you're talking about sensory qualities, how it can smell and the nutritional quality. So which do you think is or are correct? One, 2, and 4. Okay, anyone else? So let's see the answer. Yes, 1, 2, and 4 is in fact correct. Just a second, sorry. Yeah. So it does define the quality factors, the limitation of quality attribute values, and it includes the description, definition, sensory, and nutritional quality for food products, right? Labeling includes brand marks and descriptive matters also. So the option 3, which is it does not include description or definitions for food product, is incorrect. Alright, so let's move on to the next question. Question number 14 is, which of the following statements about thermally processed vegetables and fruit products are correct? So canned tomatoes should have a pH greater than 4.5 and contain CaCl2 as a forming agent. Option 2, vegetable soup can have a total soluble solids of up to 7% for tomato soup. Tomato juice should have a total soluble solid of less than 0.5% exclusive of salts. And option 4, the total titrable acidity of tomato juice should be less than 10%. So this is a slightly technical question depending on your memory, right? So maybe we'll go on to the answer directly. So the correct answer is all four, right? So canned tomatoes should have a pH greater than 4.5. It shouldn't be very acidic, right? And should contain CaCl2, that is calcium chloride, as a firming agent. Option 2, vegetable soup can have a total soluble solid of up to 7% for tomato soup. That is correct. And tomato juice, since it's a juice, not a soup, should have a total soluble solid of less than 0.5%. Right? And the acidity of tomato juice should be less than 10%. Any doubts in this question? Alright, so let's move on to question number 15. So there is an assertion and a reason. So HACCP identifies critical control points in the food processing system, and reason, CCPs, or the critical control points, are points where failure to apply control measures could result in unacceptable food safety risks. So from the four options, you have to choose if the assertion is correct and the reason is correct, and if the reason is the correct one for the assertion. So what do you think the correct answer is? So if you don't know, HACCP stands for Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Points, right? Option A. Alright. So let's see what the correct answer is. So option A is correct. Assertion is correct. So the HACCP does identify critical control points in the food processing system, and reason that the critical control points are points where failure to apply control measures could result in unacceptable food safety risks. So if you don't perform pasteurization, you might have um, pathogens such as the ones causing botulism, etc., in the product, right? Or if you don't check for heavy metal poisoning or heavy metal inclusions, you might allow the food products to have heavy metals more than the acceptable criteria. So, this critical control points is where you have to measure, uh, apply control measures so that the food safety is not compromised, right? Any doubts in this question? Alright, I'm not seeing any doubts. I'll move on to the next question. So this is question number 16. So question number 16 is, which of the following statements about processed fruit nectars is or are correct? So orange nectar must have a minimum total soluble solids of 15% and a minimum fruit juice content of 40%. Grapefruit nectar should have a maximum acidity of 1.5, has citric acid. Pineapple nectar should contain a minimum fruit content of 20%, and option 4 is mango nectar should have a minimum total soluble solid of 15% and a maximum acidity of 1.5. So again, this is a slightly theoretical question depending on your memory. So I'll move. Yeah. So you've answered. So let's see what the answer is. So yes, pineapple nectar must contain a minimum fruit juice content of 20% is incorrect, right? So pineapple nectar must contain a minimum fruit juice content of 40% is the correct answer. Everything else is correct. Any doubts in this question? Alright, I'm not seeing anything. So let's move on to question number 17. So question number 17 is match the following kind of question where column 1 has the spice and column 2 has adulterants. So column 1 has mustard seeds, turmeric powder, black pepper and chili powder, and column 2 has brick powder, argemone seed and lead chromate and papaya seed. So you have to figure out which from column 2 are used as adulterants for the products in column 1. So what do you think the answer is? D. Alright, anyone else? C. Alright, let's see what the answer is. So D is the correct answer. So mustard seeds, just a second. Uh, yeah, so mustard seed is usually adulterated with argemone seed. They look similar in shape and size. So it is a kind of poppy seed, the argemone seed, right? So they look similar to the mustard seed. Turmeric powder is usually adulterated with lead chromate because of its yellow color, right? Black pepper is usually adulterated with papaya seeds because they are of similar size and color. And chili powder is adulterated with brick powder again because of its color and texture, right? So option D is correct. All right. So anyone has any doubt? All right. So I'll move on to the next question. Question number 18 is again a match the following kind of question where you have major challenge in column 1 and corresponding agri-food sector in column 2. So you have climate hazard, short shelf life, lack of value addition, and lack of modern harvesting practices. And in column 2, you have commercial sector, perishable food, health value crop sector, and fruits and vegetables. So what do you think the correct answer is or the correct match is? Option A. Alright. So let's see what the answer is. The correct answer is option B, right? So option D states that climatic hazards uh, affect fruits and vegetables mostly. Short shelf life affects perishable foods. Lack of value addition affects the commercial sector. The lack of modern harvesting practices affects the health value crop sector. Right? So how this works is that any climatic hazards cause the challenge in fruit and vegetable sector, right? So if the climate is bad, you might have rain or drought, etc., right? And the fruits and vegetables will be affected. So short shelf life is a problem for perishable foods. So if a food is perishable, it is because it has a short shelf life, right? Lack of value addition is a challenge for commercial sector. So if you cannot add value, you cannot commercialize it properly, right? And the lack of modern harvesting practices is is challenge for the health value crop sector. Any doubt in this question? All right. So let's move on to the next question. Question number 19 is again the match the following kind, where license or registration is given in column 1 with its purpose in the food processing industry in column 2. We have trade license, food license, fire department, no objection certificate, and GST registration. And column 2 has authorization to operate a food processing plant, permission to run a eating house, safety compliance for operating a food business, and tax identification and compliance. So which do you think is correct? B. Alright. Anyone else? Alright. So let's see what the answer is. B is the correct answer. So the trade license is permission to run a eating house. The food license is authorization to operate a food processing plant. The fire department NOC is a safety compliance for operating a food business, and GST registration is for tax identification and compliance. Do you have any doubt in this question? Alright, I'll move on to the final question for the day, which is question number 20. So you have to consider the following potential hazards in foods and choose the correct preventive measures. So if your food has stone, wood and soil, what is the correct preventive measures to avoid having stone, wood and soil in the food? If you have aflatoxin contamination, what is the preventive measure? Option 3 is contamination from personnel. So, like if blood or skin or hair, etc. Fungus and bacteria contamination. So you have four options given. Which do you think is correct? C. All right. Anyone else thinks it's something else? All right. So let's see what the answer is. And yes, C is the correct answer. So for stone, wood, and soil in food, so the preventive measure has to be applied in the pre-harvest or harvest stage, right? Because that is where stone, wood, and soil will come from, and that is good agricultural practices. So GAP is good agricultural practices. So it will prevent stone, wood, and soil from being taken up with the harvest, right? Aflatoxin contamination is in the processing stage, right? So during the processing, you have to avoid the aflatoxin contamination, right? So CCP is the correct answer for that. Contamination from personnel is personal hygiene or GMP, that is good manufacturing practices, right? And fungus and bacterial contamination also happens in processing stage, which is again GMP, which is good manufacturing practices, right? Any doubt in this question? Right. So these were the questions for this module, right? Uh, so this is the end of the problem solving sessions for this course. So I hope you had a fun time learning this course and you've gained a lot of knowledge. Thank you so much for joining me weekly in these problem solving sessions. If you have any doubt, you can let me know right now regarding this module, or if it's something else, I can try to answer if I know it, right? If not, this is the last question for today, and you can leave the meeting. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having all of you. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining. Mahesh, do you have a doubt? If not, you can leave the meeting. The session for today is over.